Sometimes not everything goes according to plan in life, and this also applies to NBA superstars like LeBron James. Would you believe that the Akron-born phenomenon has been disqualified permanently from the NBA? As expected, it sounds unbelievable, right? But actions have consequences. Keep watching to find out why LeBron James is disqualified permanently from the NBA.
And he's out of here! LeBron James has just been ejected!
A pretty clean record. LeBron has been at his peak for over 16 years, and earning him an almost undisputed GOAT status in terms of longevity, thanks to his strict dietary and fitness habits, which have seen him invest millions of dollars in his health. Throughout his career, LeBron's records have been mostly without blemish. He's been clean on and off the court, despite being in the spotlight since the age of 15. But not many people remember that in 2003, James got disqualified from the NBA. It all started back in high school. LeBron was a top talent in the league, Rookie of the Year, and he seemed to be having it all going for him. LeBron averaged 21 points and 6 rebounds in an undefeated side that had won the state championship. He was in his senior year and aiming to bring the national championship to Akron, Ohio. At the time, he had 3 best friends, Joyce, Cyan, and McGee, and they had all been through a lot but remained together. LeBron was dubbed the Chosen One because of his rare talent, and he was already selling out arenas. He forfeited his NCAA eligibility by opting to play in 3 national All-Star games following the conclusion of the St. Vincent-St. Mary season. That didn't bother him, though. He'd previously tested the NBA rule prohibiting him from entering the draft after his junior season, and everyone knew he would be turning pro upon graduation. As he turned 18, his mother, Gloria, took out a loan and gifted him a car worth $50,000. It was not just some ordinary car. It was a Hummer H2 SUV, a novelty from General Motors at the time. As expected, this caught the media's attention because James was living in a small apartment with his mother in one of the city's more impoverished areas. LeBron was still an amateur at St. Vincent Mary's, and the press asked questions about how his mother got the loan approved, although everyone already knew LeBron was going to the NBA. Due to relentless probing from the press, the Ohio State High School Athletic Association got fed up. Around the same time, LeBron received 2 throwback jerseys, a Gale Sayers Chicago Bears replica jersey and a Wes Unseld Washington Bullets jersey. Both jerseys were worth around $845. He got the jerseys from a friend and posed for pictures after receiving them. This act only led to more bad press. This time, that would be it. LeBron got banned from high school basketball for breaking the rules as an amateur. Claire Muscaro, the Ohio Association's commissioner, said, "This is a direct violation of the OHSAA bylaws on amateurism because, in fact, LeBron did capitalize on athletic fame by receiving these gifts. This meant that he could no longer play high school basketball. It also meant that his team would forfeit their victory over Akron Buchel, dropping his record to 13-1. Since he posed for pictures at a Cleveland clothing store when he got the jerseys, it could be seen as using his status to get free items. LeBron's school had 4 games to make it to the final of the championship. He was upset and must have said to himself, "God, why me?" He cried during practice since he was not able to help his team. Fortunately for him, his team won their next 2 games by slim margins without their star. LeBron's family took up the case and went to Ohio court, who deemed the punishment way too harsh and unbanned him. Superstar Shaquille O'Neal defended the boy, saying, "Everybody's capitalizing on him, and you guys try to prosecute his character and take away his high school career over 2 jerseys? I think you need to investigate every hometown superstar and see what they're getting." Since LeBron was still a teenager, the situation might not have been his fault entirely. Good thing that there was not much social media at the beginning of the decade, because who knows how far the whole situation could have gone. Nonetheless, he would go on to deliver the national championship to Akron, make the NBA that year as the Cleveland Cavaliers made him the #1 selection of the NBA draft, and eventually became one of the best players of all time in the game. But would there be any further disqualification for the champ? Well, maybe.
I still don't believe that he should be suspended. I disagree with the ruling, Skip. I don't believe he intentionally hit him in the face.
Disqualified for the first time. The Lakers' leader received the first suspension in his professional career in the NBA after his Sunday night melee against Detroit's Isaiah Stewart. In the third quarter of the Lakers-Pistons game, 121-116, LeBron caught Stewart in the face while the both jostled for position on a free throw. With Stewart's face bloodied, he charged at a remorseful LeBron and needed more than a dozen people to prevent what could have escalated to a slugfest. Stewart was assessed by 2 technical fouls, while James was given a flagrant 2, and this led to the ejection of both players from the game. Lakers forward AD leapt to the defense of LeBron, saying everyone in the league knows LeBron's not a dirty guy. In fact, when he knew he hit him, as soon as he did it, he looked back at him like, "Oh, my bad, I didn't try to do it." As a result of their actions, James was suspended for 1 game in the regular season, without pay, while his opponent was given a 2-match ban according to the NBA press office. This meant that James would miss the game against the New York Knicks, while Stewart would miss both games against Miami and Milwaukee. The official review stated that Stewart was suspended for escalating the incident and repeatedly and aggressively pursuing James, who was suspended for recklessly hitting Stewart in the face and initiating the altercation. The truth is that opinions are still very much divided on whether James had a malicious intent and if it was suspension-worthy. However, it's clear that the Lakers superstars attempted to apologize and even went as far as to try to get Stu's phone number. Stewart said he didn't think it was an accident, and that he wouldn't like to dwell on the issue any further. The suspension also came with heavy fines for both players. James would miss out on about $284,000 in salary, while Stewart would forfeit about $45,000. Although his first suspension in 19 years, James has received fines on multiple occasions in the league for missing news conferences, awkward celebrations, flopping, and even kicking a water bottle. Though the Lakers won that game and snapped their 3-game losing streak, without their star player, they would lose the next game against the Knicks 106-100. LBJ had just recovered from an abdominal sprain that sidelined him for 8 games. His suspension would have been seen as a temporary setback in a team looking to turn their season around. Apart from receiving his first ever suspension, it was only his second ejection as well, with the first ejection coming back in 2017 when the then Cavaliers star was disqualified for overreacting in the 108-97 victory over former Miami Heat. In that game, LeBron was slapped with a technical foul for arguing a non-call with the ref in the third quarter. The ref, Fitzgerald, said immediately after the no call he turned and threw an air punch directly at me. And then he aggressively charged at me, and then he used vulgarity in my ear a few times. LBJ was not further penalized for the particular incident. Seeing how things could quickly escalate in NBA scuffles, LeBron would be looking to avoid any further disqualifications or any controversy that could put a blemish on his legacy. More so, his team seems to be heavily reliant on him, and they need him more now than ever. LeBron would have to be in his best form and behavior if the Lakers want to have a great season. Stay out of trouble, James.
With 2, LeBron following, yes! LeBron! That's vintage.
Returning in style. Just 2 days after his first disqualification and suspension due to his controversial backhand fist on Stewart, LBJ scored 39 points, but carried the team in overtime. His return coincided with AD's absence, who had gotten the day off after playing on back-to-back nights and was experiencing some flu-like symptoms. The game went into overtime on a brilliant three-pointer from the corner by Indiana's Dominican rookie Chris Duarte. With 5 seconds to play, LeBron took charge of the game in overtime and put the Lakers on the road to victory against the Indiana Pacers with a total of 8 points. He celebrated in style as the commentator screamed, "That is vintage LeBron." His points helped the Lakers to maintain their unblemished record in OT as they won the game 124-116. James was later fined $15,000 for an obscene gesture in the win against the Indiana Pacers. To be honest, this is not the first time we've seen LeBron coming back to silence his critics. Understandably, not everyone can be his fan, but he has certainly earned himself the respect of many people for his amazing displays. In the next game, though, his team would lose to the Suns team, with LBJ taking his share of the blame for the loss. The Lakers have had a largely underwhelming season, but things could very well change, as the season is still a long way from ending.
NBA Finals most valuable player is, for the second straight finals, LeBron James.
Not a bad record. LeBron is the face of the league. A 4-time NBA champion, 4-time regular season player of the year, and most valuable player of the final playoff series, he hardly does any trash talking, preferring to do his talking on the court. He's a 17-time NBA All-Star as well. LeBron won the Rookie of the Year award in his breakout year in 2004. He's won numerous awards with the USA basketball team, including 2 Olympic gold medals and the USA Male Athlete of the Year awards. He racked up more than 24 awards back in high school and is still widely regarded as the greatest high school player ever. He's received multiple state and local awards, and we're still talking about his on-court achievements alone. Outside the court, he's won numerous awards as well, and only very few athletes in the other sports earn more than the superstar who has earned over $500 million. Like any player worthy of a GOAT status, LeBron has his fans as well as haters, and he sometimes finds himself in the midst of controversy. However, what we cannot take away from him is what he has brought to the sport over 2 decades. To even think that LeBron's entire career could have been jeopardized because of 2 retro jerseys worth less than $1,000 is simply nerve-shattering. LBJ is probably past his peak, but even then, he's still a top NBA player. Despite following a committed recovery program, aging is inevitable for the superstar. But again, if there's anything we've learned from the game, it is to never doubt the king when the chips are down.
For real, the Lakers is truly the franchise with the greatest collection of basketball players in the history of the league.
LeBron's legendary status. Despite his high school disqualification, first suspension in his career in his game against the Pistons, and the 2 ejections in his career, it's safe to say that King James is still a clean player. Nearly 37, he still has a few seasons left in him. Anything could happen before he calls time on his career, but his achievements have already been forged in history, and his disqualifications